build it, he will.
It's the Skinny on Sports Podcast with Aaron Cowk.
I throw balls far. You want good words? Data language.
Talk real sports with a real man.
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
And now, here's the be-all, end-all, know-it-all of high school, college, and pro sports. Aaron Skinny Cowk with the Skinny on Sports.
We're talking about practice, man. I'm the MVP.
Good Wednesday out there, Western Oklahoma. Welcome to the Skinny on Sports right here on 98.1 FM, the Sports Animal. Glad to have you along for the next hour. We got all kinds of stuff coming up. We got Big Elk defensive coordinator Johnny Eastham stopping by toward the end of the show. Get his thoughts on last week. Look ahead to tomorrow night with Cash coming to town. Another big 4A1 battle right here at Big Elk Stadium. So big week following the district opening loss to Clinton. So get his thoughts on everything Big Elk football. College football, it's Red River week, right? So today we're going to talk about what happens when Texas has the ball. When the Horns are on offense, what are some key players on each side of that? X factors maybe on each side of that. Where could advantages lie for Texas's offense or OU's defense? Just how good is Quinn Ewers? And then what would be considered a winning day for Oklahoma's defense against the Texas offense? Major League Baseball playoffs started yesterday. Got some notes on each of those. Elk City Elkettes fast pitch season came to an end in Shawnee against North Rock Creek. But another fantastic year for Coach Murray and the softball team that we can talk about as well. 225-9698 is the phone or the text line. 225-9698. Give us a call, shoot us a text. Talk about any of those things or whatever else might be on your mind. Feel free to chime right in at 225-9698. If you're going to be outside the listening area, you can stay in touch with the show by logging on to kadsam.com or download the app. Paragon Communications app is free, and it's got everything that we do right here. Radio, Penny News, and Big Elk and Paragon TV. By the way, that Penny News, brand new edition, hit the website last night at midnight. You can check it out at thepennynews.com. Our fearless leader will be headed to the city to pick up the print edition of the Penny News. You can start getting that in some locations tonight. By tomorrow morning at this time, go pick up a free copy of your Penny News at your favorite local newsstand. Of course, Skinny on Sports Podcast. If you missed the show or entirely one of the days, and you want to go back and hear what we had to say, it's easy. You can find it everywhere that podcasts are. How are you today, Jared?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Probably riding high, aren't you there, with your Texas Rangers hat on?
That's right. Feeling good
you got
about
a
it.
different one on today.
You got to mix it up every once in a while.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
I thought about that, too. No, it's fine.
You get a
It's
win
fine.
at Tampa Bay with one hat, and you decide to change to a different hat.
No, you can't pitch the same pitcher every time.
It's true. It's very true.
And I like their chances today.
No, you're going to like their chances every day.
Well, Valde's on there, on the bump. Montgomery was awesome yesterday. Valde's a superstar, or an all-star. Good pitcher, although he's slacked a little bit. We'll see what happens. It's good outing yesterday afternoon. And I'm glad I wasn't the only one who noticed it. You see the thing from ESPN about the attendance record?
I've got it.
Or lack thereof.
19s were wild. 19,000, the lowest attended Major League Baseball playoff game since 1919.
Insane. Sad. Because I'm watching the other games and the fans
it's packed. Yeah.
Now, I wonder if what time was it there?
3 o'clock.
In Florida?
2 o'clock our
Tampa
time.
Bay? Yeah. I wonder if that had something to do with it.
It shouldn't.
It shouldn't.
Don't tell me that the rest of the major leagues wouldn't have had full stadiums.
Right.
It doesn't matter when the game is played.
So if that was the case, that means you're not a major league town.
Well,
you're not a major league region or whatever Tampa Bay wants to call themselves.
This has always been the case with that franchise, and
the fans don't show.
They don't show up, and it's an amazingly consistent team.
Yes.
Once they got things rolling,
man, they're red hot. Start the year.
Well, this
Here
isn't
they
the
are
only
about
year.
On the verge of maybe winning 100 games. But yeah, you're right. Not the only year.
I mean,
The
they played
fans
the
just
World
don't-
Series COVID year
Like in 08?
in 08 or 09.
Yeah.
against the Phillies.
They won the AL in 08.
Or wait. Yeah, against the Phillies.
Was it against Phillies?
Yeah, Phillies beat them in the right.
Anyways, they've had consistent success, and the fans aren't showing. That's why there's always that rumbling of them moving.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it's
and who can blame them?
It's just it is kind of sad that I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. Tampa. Don't tell me you couldn't get off work. Florida, heck, most of them are probably retired.
All right, good point. Good point.
Now they are about to get a new stadium.
That might help.
The Trop.
Yeah, it's kind of
Tropicana Field.
There's a stat yet they're talking about during the game was how many times the ball has hit the ceiling. Like they said on average, it's not as often as you think.
The catwalk. Isn't that where the catwalk is?
It's about 12 times a season. I'm like, that's 12 times too much.
Yeah.
That means your stadium's out of date.
It's a 2023, bro. We shouldn't be hitting the stadium.
Come on.
It's kind of like, I mean, there's certain places maybe I don't have to go for basketball, but you probably do. Older venues where if somebody tries to fire one up from like three-quarter court, it hits the ceiling.
I can think of a few.
Yeah. That doesn't necessarily happen where I go just because the bigger towns, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It just doesn't.
I could think of a few. Although the smaller schools, there's some nice
gems
ones
out
there.
But there's still some old ones.
There's still some old ones with some low ceilings.
That's right. I can think of Hollis being one of those where you could absolutely hit the ceiling.
Funny story. This funny story. I remember back in high school, back when Clinton had their tournament, the shootout tournament over there, and Tuttle was over there playing. And it was like a Saturday afternoon game, some consolation game. And I don't even remember who they're playing, but we were there hanging out watching the game. And a certain player for Tuttle was their point guard. You know who that'd be?
Depending on what year, it could be Jason White.
It's Jason White.
Yeah, we whipped him like patting for a dance in the regionals.
Jason White. Well, they're down like a point or two with like maybe a half a second, 1 point something seconds left on the clock. And you know how the dome scoreboard is?
Yep.
It's in the middle. They have to go the full length of the court. So what's Jason White do? What was he famous for at OU?
Yeah.
The long ball. So he's rearing back to throw it. He throws it and nails the scoreboard. I mean, that thing's still pretty high, but he nailed it going back, throwing it. And people went up and gave the incompletion sign because he was committed to OU at that time, and they were giving him a hard time. But that's a pretty high ceiling at the dome, but I guess the scoreboard hangs a little low. Yeah, Chop, and then also you would hope that the new stadium, I haven't seen any renderings of it, you would think it'd have like a retractable roof. Being in Florida, you think you get more nicer weather than not nice weather, and you like to sit outside for a baseball game than inside. I don't think it's incredibly, I'm sure they'll have their heat waves. Anyways, advantage Rangers if the fans don't show up again today. I don't know how much fans actually have a say.
I don't know. It's
in
just
baseball.
Sad.
It is
17 or 19,000 people.
I wonder how many people were at Texas Live watching the.
Probably more than 19,000. Let's see. So the Rangers win. Also, the Minnesota Twins snap. Did you realize this?
I didn't realize that about Minnesota.
Minnesota snapped an 18-game postseason losing streak, 3-1 win over Toronto. They hadn't won since 2014, like ALDS. Torrey Hunter looked young last time they won a playoff game. They win 3-1. Royce Lewis, first playoff game of his career, hits 2 home runs, 2 for 3 with all 3 RBI. My Milwaukee Brewers, just too many dudes left on base. And jump out to a 3-0 lead with Corbin Burns on the hill. You got to feel really, really good about that. And the next thing you know, Arizona started hitting home runs. 2 in the third. Was it the fourth? The third inning. It was 3-0 going into the top of the third. 2-run bomb and went back-to-back, actually, with a solo shot to tie it. And then a solo home run in the fourth. Burns ends up getting the loss. The insurance runs in the ninth inning on a double off the wall. Man, Evan Longoria was awesome at third base.
Defensive play so far of the postseason.
Holy cow. The bases loaded, 1 out. Taylor hits a rocket. Looks like it's into left field to score at least 1, if not 2. And Longoria snags it and doubles off one of the Brewers' second. Then he had the play where he came across, kind of bobbled it, and Christian Yelich wasn't paying attention on the bases, rounded second, thinking the throw was going to first and maybe looking to advance. And as Longoria bobbled it, he noticed Yelich coming across the bag, so he kind of threw behind him, ended up basically picking him off at second. Made another diving stop on a ball that was headed for the outfield. He didn't throw that guy out, but he was damn close from his butt. He was awesome. He was absolutely awesome. So both teams used tons of bullpen in that game, which isn't necessarily a great sign for my Brewers because of Arizona's got Zach Gallen going today. He ate up 210 innings. Peralta on the other side for the Brewers probably helps, but then when you look at Game 3, and they got Merrill Kelly at 177 innings. This is not looking good for the Brew Crew with the way that game went. You know, sometimes you lose and you move on, but exhausting a bunch of your bullpen guys, and then it feels like the Diamondbacks have the advantage with starting pitching the rest of the way. It's rough. It's going to be rough for the Brewers to advance. Then also Philly beat Miami 4-1. Zach Wheeler was great, 6 2/3, gave up a run, eight strikeouts, and so. Two road teams won, 2 home teams won, and the cool thing about this, these best of 3, it's wherever they played is where they play. That's kind of, I guess, the advantage of having the better record or the better seed or winning your division going into these 3-game series in the wild card is you get to play every game at home. So
yeah, there is that,
and it makes sense honestly. In a 3-game series. There was zero reason
to travel.
To travel.
No, yeah.
Now, a 5-game is a little bit different, but in a 3-game series, there is no reason to travel.
No.
The one thing, I guess, and I don't think this happens, but the one thing you could see but, you know, it's the advantage, but to have, even though it's not in your park, like, say, the Rangers were the home team on the scoreboard today, to get the last at bat. That's not happening, I don't think. I think it's just like a normal 3-game series down in Tampa, and you're trying to take 2 of 3 to move on. So Major League Baseball playoffs got off to a great start everywhere but Tampa as far as the attendance. It just felt – it's amazing how much cooler the atmosphere feels for a Major League Baseball playoff game versus just a game in July.
No, it's like every pitch, there's a reaction. It's not like, you're right, in a day game in July. It's every pitch matters because it could be the difference. A lot of fun. I watched a lot of baseball yesterday.
Yeah, I did too last night. I watched a whole bunch of that throughout the evening time with the Brewers and then with the Phillies and the Marlins as well. Watched a little softball yesterday as well. The Elk City Elkettes season ends in Shawnee to North Rock Creek. Elkettes were the 15th seed in the Super Regionals. North Rock Creek was second. The first game started out pretty close, and then North Rock Creek, the Lady Cougars, broke it open with four in the third, ended up 4 in the sixth. They won game 1 9-0, turn around and win the second game 9-2. Another great season, though. So backing up the year from last year at 25-8, losing all those seniors off of the team last year, the Elkettes bounced back into the Super Regionals, 27-10 this season. Do lose 3 seniors that start with Emily Lawrence, Brianna Butler, and also Madison Holiday, but the future's still bright. Pogue, the sophomore pitcher, will be a junior next year. Satilli, kind of the rock in the infield. She'll be a senior at the shortstop spot. And then there's a bunch of young ones coming up into that program. So a lot of promise, a lot to look forward to if you're the Elk City Elkettes softball team. Disappointed for sure that you're unable to be the first team to make it into the state tournament in Elk City fast pitch history, but it feels like it's coming, right? At some point here in the next couple of years, that ceiling's going to be broken through.
Yeah, this program is too good not to get to the state tournament. They're consistently winning, and they're going to break through. This was a great, despite the ending there, this was a great year for them. Congratulations, Coach Murray and his staff and all those young ladies, and I expect nothing but great things going into next fall. The program is established as a winning program. Everybody knows that when they play against the Elkettes in softball. So it was a good year. I applaud him.
It was indeed. I was thinking, who else played? There was somebody else around in 4A. Looking at the results. I
couldn't think who else
I was thinking
played
there was one other
yesterday.
that showed that they were going to be playing. I don't see the results though, so I can't tell you. Weatherford starts tomorrow. Up at Miami, bunch of it's tomorrow, and then if game being on Friday. But Elk City and North Rock Creek played yesterday, and so yeah, great season for the Elkettes. Just not quite what the goal was, I'm sure, to start the season of getting to that. Hanging out here on a Wednesday. It's OU Texas week. The big game coming up Saturday at 11 a.m. down in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas, surrounded by the State Fair. The Ferris wheel, the corny dogs, the wax paper cups of beer, and the fried literally anything. You know what I heard them talking about driving in today?
What's that? The food that's going to be offered?
Fried fireball.
How do you fry a drink?
It's more like you fry a piece of like angel food cake and then pour fireball and cinnamon over top of it. You're not really frying the liquid per se.
It doesn't really work.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that part does, I guess.
Anyway.
Okay.
I'll take a Fletcher's jalapeno and cheese.
Yeah.
About 9:30. If anybody wants to beam me up, Scotty, one of those to wherever I'm at. Be a fun day. It's biggest game down there since 2011 as far as both teams being undefeated going into the matchup this year. All right, let's talk about Texas. What happens when the Horns have the football? Without looking at any stats for either side, what do you feel like the consensus analysis is with Texas's offense versus OU's defense?
Well, like, what will Texas be able to do versus what OU will be able to stop them from doing? Well, I think, and we kind of talked about this yesterday, and it's kind of obvious, is if can OU defend Texas' run game? Whoever wins the rushing battle in this game typically wins it. Although statistically, OU has a better rushing attack game by game. I mean, I'm looking at the stats. It says OU rushes the ball better than Texas.
No, that's not right. It's not even close to right.
Well, then NCAA.com is wrong. It made me look stupid
per
again.
game?
No, overall.
Go, keep going.
Well, my point is, can OU stop their rushing attack? Because they hit the bigger plays more than OU has in the rush. But OU's rushing defense, which I haven't compared OU's rushing defense versus Texas' rushing offense. Something's got to give there. But, you know, I'm like PJ and Stutzman and the edge guys, the cheetah position, Deshaun McCullough. How are they going to look against Texas' rushing offense?
Yeah,
Did I look at the wrong stat?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out because Texas through 5 games, they're 34th in the country at 191.8 yards a game. I'm just looking at yards per game. Yards per rush, they're almost 5 yards a carry, 4.99 on their offensive side of the ball. Now, OU's rush defense comes in 28th in the country at 105.2 yards given up per game. So that's fairly – I mean, Texas has ran the ball better than Oklahoma. So Oklahoma's down in the 50s, I think, with rushing offense at 150-ish yards. Yeah, 157. They're 63rd offensively, OU is. But it only has 4 games. Oh, you know what it's missing probably the Arkansas State game. Because this is just going to be against FBS opponents, but they're
Arkansas isn't.
Yeah,
they play in the
Sun Belt. Yeah, that's interesting.
I'm trying to find that stat.
I'm looking at it right here, but it only has 4 games.
Offense versus offense is what I was looking. It only has 4 games.
Oklahoma 4 games of rushing stats, 4 yards a carry, 157.8 yards per game. Well, here's Texas. Oh, wait a minute. What just happened? Now it's got them 155.8 through 4 games. But on the front page, through 5 games, this is weird. Through 5 games, it has them at 191.8. Huh. It's got Texas twice.
For what ranked?
34th.
34th.
Yeah, it's got them twice. I see what you did.
What did I see there?
The other,
Why did they put?
It's like it didn't have the Kansas game included on the other page. That's wild. Because they ran for over 300 against Kansas.
Yeah,
And that's
do you see what I'm looking at?
Yeah, I do. I actually do. Anyway.
And then they didn't account for OU's 5th game, whatever game that is that they're not accounting for.
I would assume it would be the last one. Because for Texas
NCAA are on it as usual.
For Texas to jump up as much as they did.
But you saw what I did there. You said, they're pretty – and through 4 games, they were pretty –
Cal Gundy did the same thing.
Even.
Yesterday on the air. He did the exact same thing. I never even noticed it when I looked up the stats for OU's. But Texas has run it better than Oklahoma. A yard better to carry. But I think it feels like the narrative is that Texas has just ran the ball down everybody's throats. I think that's obviously not the case when you look at without last week. Down in the 60s going into last week. Now, they had a great game against Kansas's poorest defense. I understand. But I don't know. I don't know. I don't think that Texas's rush offense should be confused with some of the very, very best in the country. They're not Oregon at 230 a game, or haven't been. I think most people feel. But
even narrow it down even more for me. It's not just the rushing, defending the rush. It's because what we've heard about Texas resurgence is their offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
So what's OU's defensive line and even linebackers? Are they able to get a push against those offensive line guys to disrupt a rushing game, to make Quinn Ewers uncomfortable?
That's right.
I think that's more of it. I mean, I know that's so cliche to say, and I said it last week during the high school game was, who's going to win the battle up front, which I thought was a big reason why Clinton won, to be honest. I'm not throwing shade at anybody, but it's the same thing can be applied here, is because that is why Texas is good and 5-0 and ranked top 4, top 3 in the country, is because it's not. I mean, they're doing things what we thought they'd do with Quinn Ewers. I knew Quinn Ewers would be a really good quarterback in his second year as a varsity guy taking snaps. He was too good not to be, and he is showing that. He has great skill guys around him, great running backs. But that offensive line and defensive line is why I think Texas is back, air quoting. So what does OU do? Does Brent Venables have a defensive plan on how to disrupt that offensive line? That's what I'm really going to key in on.
I mean, I think that most people would say that's one of the biggest advantages that Texas has is their offensive line, and everything goes back to pushing Alabama around because no one's used to seeing Alabama get pushed around. That's the key to the game, in my mind. It always is. Whoever runs the ball better wins. That's just this game. We can talk about everything else, but when it comes down to it, if you run the ball better than the other team, you win this game like 95% of the time over the past quarter century. So there's that problem. Also, especially when you look at what happened early last week, I think the key to one of the biggest keys is Jatavian Sanders healthy, and is he going to play? He's the superstar tight end for Texas, because where have we seen some problems with OU's pass defense? In the middle, with the safeties, maybe even linebackers in coverage a little bit. That's a huge glaring advantage in my mind for Texas coming into this game from what we've seen. Now, Texas likes to throw a ton of screens to the outside, to the wide receivers. Now, that has been somewhere that Oklahoma has been fantastic all year long, being able to defend those wide receiver screens. We saw it last week early on, like 2 or 3 big-time negative plays, one by Williams. I think Keith Lawrence had one right early on in that game That has been a strength of Oklahoma's defense, and honestly, I don't know that I think the corners hold up. Can the middle of the field hold up in coverage against the Texas receivers, and especially the tight end? So that leads me to, if you talk about X factors, is this a game where you see Peyton Bowen unleashed on the defensive side for Oklahoma?
Yeah, I think we'll see a lot of people unleashed, but I see what you're saying.
He clearly has just that natural ability to know what's going on, to read what's going on. The moment hasn't seemed too big for him whatsoever. So to me, he is a huge X factor in this game. In that, will the leash be taken off of him, and we actually start seeing Peyton Bowen out there consistently in that defensive backfield? I think it could be.
Yeah. And that's another thing about this game. There's always a guy where like a star is born.
Yep.
Or a guy that you don't even think would be a factor in this game turned out to be, well, that's why they won. That guy broke out that game. That guy did that. That guy had a punt return.
So who you got? X factors for Texas on the offensive side?
Anybody running the football.
That's what I've got too. C.J. Baxter or Jonathan Brooks.
Yeah.
Brooks has had some
Brooks
big games.
Brooks is a dude.
Yeah, he's
a
had
guy.
some big runs. Baxter's been a little bit limited. It doesn't seem like he's been 100% healthy just yet. True freshman. But, yeah, I agree. I think, the receivers are the receivers with Mitchell and with Worthy. We've seen those guys. Those guys are fantastic on the outside. Sanders is a huge key, how healthy he is and can he play. Seems like it's trending to where he's going to play, but how much of Jatavian Sanders' ability will we get to see on Saturday? But I agree 100%. Those running backs, it's kind of a make-your-name game. Now, so where are some advantages? Where do you think there are advantages possibly for OU defensively?
Oh, man.
There's one glaring advantage.
You got one?
One glaring weakness in Texas's offense. And it's third down. They're only 56 in the country at 42% on third down. OU's defense is 10th in America, only allowing 27.6 on third down conversions. OU's defense has been fantastic when the other team has gotten, say, to their 40, like the plus 40. OU has been the second best team in the country defending from there. And then red zone defense, Oklahoma's only allowed 3 touchdowns in 8 red zone trips by the other team. So 37.5. They've yet to allow a rushing touchdown this season. Texas has made it into the red zone 21 times, only scored 11 touchdowns. They've had to kick 8 field goals, and then 2 times they didn't score. So those big downs on third down and red zone, the numbers say Oklahoma's defense has a pretty decided advantage in those areas when the downs become really important, either on third down or in the red zone.
I thought you were asking me like more of a unit advantage. I can't find one individually, or I always want to go to Stutzman first. Can he fly to the football like he has all, these first 5 games and create havoc? But I didn't know those stats. Those are fantastic stats. Get him in third down, third and anything, or third and long, third and 5
down
plus.
period.
Just third down plus, or third down at anything, and you got to like your chances there.
Now, I mean, the thing about it, if you actually look at the numbers, a lot of these numbers with the early season favor Oklahoma. But the problem is, who have they played to amass these numbers? It's almost like you can just throw it out the window before Saturday because of what of who they played. You know what I mean? It just the numbers support Oklahoma having a chance to stop Texas. When you look at rush defense, OU's 28th in the country, Texas 34th. Pass efficiency defense, OU's 7th in the country, Texas is 24th in pass efficiency offense. I mentioned third down. Now, the one thing that kind of where the rubber meets the road is Oklahoma's second in the country with 8 interceptions defensively so far this year. Yours has only thrown 1. So that, that's kind of that's a strength on strength for sure. I mentioned red zone, and then scoring defense. Oklahoma's second at 8.5 a game given up. Texas is only 29th in the country scoring offense, 36. When we talk about this the other way tomorrow, it's going to be different. But Oklahoma has piled up these stats. They piled them up against who?
Right.
Whereas Texas, we knew this. It can be irritating if you're an OU fan, but we talked about it the second week of the season. After the Horns struggled around a little bit against Rice into the third quarter, what did I say? None of it's going to matter if they beat Alabama. And they beat Alabama, and guess what? None of it matters. That's the only thing that matters now. It doesn't matter that it was 10-10 against Wyoming. It doesn't matter that it was 20-14 in the third quarter against Kansas. One, they proved their mettle in the fourth quarter by pulling away from those teams, Alabama included. And that's one thing that I think is going to be really interesting in this game is at the end. Texas has been really strong in the fourth quarters of these games. Really strong. And I think that goes back to the first thing you said. Eventually, their lines take control of the game.
Yeah.
What's a winning day for OU's defense?
Well, prevent what you just said about the fourth quarter. I think if you can hold Texas to the 20s, maybe even the low 30s, and hope the offense is on point like they were last week and not like they were at, say, Cincinnati, and give yourself a fighter's chance. But just holding them at bay, weathering storms. Texas is going to come out with probably scripted plays, come out a roaring, settle down, force their turnovers. OU's offense, even last week you saw when they settled in, they made those defensive adjustments. They were pretty dang tough to get anything by. So I would – but just to answer the question, hold Texas in the 20s, maybe even high 20s, and hope the offense is healthy and good. When Gabriel's good, they're pretty dang good.
All right, so I wrote down 150 rush yards or less. So I think if you hold to 150, then you have a chance to win the rushing battle. A chance with what we've seen so far this season. Anything north of that, if it starts getting closer to 200 or tops 200, then I think you've got a problem if you're Oklahoma's defense, because now Texas is completely two-dimensional.
Because when you're winning the rushing game, what does that mean?
You have the ball.
Ball control. Yeah.
You have the ball, and the other team's offense isn't on the field. And it just, in this game, year after year after year, the physicality of this game is almost startling from any other game that these two teams have played on. And Bama, whatever. This game is going to be every bit, if not more physical, than what Texas played against Alabama, just because of the heightened emotion and passion that this game brings out in both teams. It's a huge reason why you see going into this thing massive underdogs being able to stay with or win this game because of how much more the emotion and the attention to detail of this week is historically. So if Oklahoma can keep Texas in that less than 150 or right at 150 rush yards, I think that's a huge thing for OU's defense. Create a couple of turnovers. Sooners have been great at creating turnovers. Both of these teams in the turnover margin have been fantastic all year long. Create a couple of turnovers, and then I think they need to get to Ewers 3 times or more. create some negative plays, and get to him. Now, I'll tell you, one thing that I've seen him this year do, maybe a little bit more than what we saw last year, and it could be comfortability with what he's doing. But, man, he's turned – you've got to be disciplined with your rush lanes, because that dude has kind of – he's made a bunch of plays with his feet and long plays. Last week against Kansas, he had a long run. Baylor, he had a long run, kind of getting out of the pocket, break and contain, or even up the middle if you try to come from the outside. So I think both teams have to be disciplined in that way, because both guys can make plays with their legs, even though if they don't necessarily want to. The big difference, I think, between the two is yours is so much bigger than Gabriel. He's a little bit harder to get on the ground, right, because of his size and his strength. So for me, OU's defense has to accomplish two of those three and almost has to keep Texas to 150 rush-ish to be able to have a chance to win the running battle. And to be able to, it's just something that has to happen in this game. We've seen it year after year after year after year after year. And the numbers say they got a chance to do all of those things. And the third down, if you're an OU fan, I think the third down defense versus Texas's third down offense is a huge thing. In those red zone, Texas hasn't been able to finish off drives near as consistently as what will tomorrow when we talk about OU's offense. The Sooners have a massive advantage in finishing drives so far this year, red zone versus red zone, third down versus third down. They've got a huge – Texas has been good on third down defense, but they haven't been very good on offense. Sooners have been great both sides. So there's a lot there. I would love to see what the difference would be coming into this game. I think there's two things. How many people nationally – that you hear? I mean, at this point, it's a wonder OU's even going down the Cotton Bowl. If you listen nationally, I don't even know why they're wasting the gas, why they're even doing the food, lacing them up. It doesn't make any sense for the Sooners to go down against this vaunted Texas Longhorn team. How many people? And a lot of it's referenced back to 49-0 a year ago.
Sure. How
many of those people making those statements do you think even realize that Dylan Gabriel didn't play in this game?
They didn't realize that. They didn't. They just it's get the clicks, and they just went back. Oh, they lost to him that much last year? Oh, you finished 6-7? Yeah, this is going to be a blowout. And then it just falls into the. And then they wanted Texas back. We've always said college football is better when Texas is quote unquote back, when they're good, when they're relevant. And then because of them and OU going into the SEC next year, and I get all that narrative. I get it. It sells papers. It gets clicks. But if you're an OU fan and if you're an OU player or you're an OU coach, you got to love it, right?
If Venables,
it's refreshing for me as an OU fan. This is great. I love it.
It feels a little bit like early Stoops years. Even with the national championship, Texas is winning the recruiting battle. Texas has the best players. Texas is so much more talented than Oklahoma. How can the little engine that could, the little crimson and cream engine that could possibly compete with the vaunted burnt orange locomotive? It has to be exactly how
the talk was like
Brent
that.
Venables has drawn this up.
I mean, it dates back
even after 5-0.
It dates back to the 0-1 game. After OU had won a national title, there was still, Texas is going to win this game, and then the infamous Superman play. And I love the speech. Who was that? Musburger said, "Why aren't these guys? Why were they not favored in this game?" It kind of has that feeling to it, like you're talking like the early Stoops years. Venables is running with it.
I know, but the one thing that has to make you nervous as an Oklahoma fan.
This game always makes me nervous. I don't care what the rankings are or records.
But the way the Sarkisian is really good calling plays, really good as an offensive coordinator. Can he or will he use, because you know what BV's doing. He ain't setting back. He's coming. You know he's coming. Can Texas use that aggressiveness, that aggression that Oklahoma's going to play with defensively and scheme up defensively? Can they use that against the Sooners and hit a bunch of big plays? That's the task. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Blocking it up when OU sends a bunch of people and being able to hit big plays.
Yeah. I hope we get a really, really good game in that sense. Their offensive-minded coach versus OU's defensive-minded coach. That sets up a great series of games in the SEC in this game. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like the Bob versus Mac, and
no doubt.
I hope that's what we're getting.
Just a day away from Big Elk football. That's coming up tomorrow. We've got the Big Elks hosting Cache, a big 4A District 1 battle. Try to stay in touch with the two teams at the top with Weatherford and Clinton. Joining us now is defensive coordinator Johnny Eastham. How are you doing, Johnny?
Doing good. How are you guys?
Doing well. Let's go back just a little bit to last week. I thought defensively you guys did what you had to do, limiting the big runs from the Clinton running backs, which is always such a scary thing. Outside of the one where Collins ran over everybody down toward the goal line, I thought you guys did a really good job of kind of limited their big plays on the ground.
Yeah, for the most part, we played really tough. That first half, we were rolling. Everything was going good, and they're going to make adjustments. I mean, they got a great coaching staff over there, and they've got some really, really good players. Number 3, Collins, he's a special back. But I think for the most part, we did really good. We're just 1 or 2 plays away here and there.
When you look back at the film, it seemed like the one play that they had that worked was kind of the blast to their left side of the offensive line. What was it that they were doing on that play that was so successful versus anything else they really tried?
They made a few halftime adjustments in the way they were blocking it, and they executed. At that time, I think we had a couple. When they made some of those big runs, had a couple key guys out with cramp or dinged up here and there, and it was just a bad timing for us. But yeah, they came out and executed a little bit better than they did the first half.
Yeah, one of those guys, Catch Gino. It just seemed like when he was not on the field, Clinton knew it, and they were taking advantage. Speak to Catch and how valuable he is to what you do on defense.
Oh well, I mean he's the leader of that group right now. He started a bunch for us last year as a sophomore. Just a really talented player too. But he's kind of he's the quarterback of that group. And on top of that, he's just a really smart player. So when he's off the field for us, you can definitely tell.
Yeah, I thought. Up front, as far as defensive line play, I felt like we held our own most of the time, except for maybe that little period from 4 minutes left in the third quarter till midway through the fourth. But outside of that, I thought those guys maybe grew up a little bit on that defensive line.
Oh yeah, I think we had some more pieces on the line. We were having a lot of guys play both ways, but not the whole time on defense, trying to keep people fresh. So we had a lot of new faces on the defensive line last week, and we will going forward. But yeah, it was looking back, we played 40 really, really good minutes on defense. We had about an 8-minute stretch there where they made some adjustments and made us pay here and there. We just got to put it together, for 48 total minutes.
All right, so let's move ahead to this week. Cache coming to town. The Bulldogs struggled a little bit early. That may have been due to Elgin appears to be one of the best teams in 5A. But the last 2 weeks, 56-0 against Woodward, 55-0 last week against Southeast. Kind of watching them a little bit. It doesn't seem like they have as much window dressing pre-snap motions and all that as they had. But, man, that Moldoni, the running back, he is a load to bring down.
Yes, he is. We saw that last year too. Coach Griffin's done a great job down there, and he's ran that jet sweep with that jet motion forever. And they were kind of getting into some spread stuff, but he still goes back to that just because those kids know how to block it and he knows how to run it. So they're doing a lot of different things, a lot of good things on offense. But yeah, number 12. I mean, the jet sweep's one thing, but you've got to stop that. The play right up the middle with number 12 because he's a tough back.
Thursday nights, it always feels like throws you out of rhythm. At least for coaches, like okay, you do this on this day, you do this on that day. How's the approach been this week leading up to tomorrow?
Oh, it does definitely throw you off your rhythm. I'm sitting there today, I'm usually making my call sheet after defensive practice, and I'm like, oh man, I got to get this done now. Yeah, it's as far as practice goes, we haven't really changed anything. We've taken the same approach as we do any Monday, Tuesday, and today, hopefully, if the weather holds off, it's going to be just a normal Wednesday, maybe a little bit lighter. We just won't have our walkthrough like we do on Thursday, so I don't think it'll throw us off too much. Friday will be the day it throws you off when you have to go back to school after a a hard fought game.
Well, we got to go to work too. That throws me off.
But no, I think this week we've had a really good week of practice, and no, I think we'll be fine. We'll be ready to go.
How hard has it been? Speaking of the practice, to put last Friday behind you, knowing what's coming tomorrow night and the quality that Cash brings up here.
That was the key. Saturday after film, we told them, hey, we're done. We had it wasn't necessarily a fun film session, but it was a really good one for the coaches and players. And just tell them, these guys know we still have everything in front of us that we want. Does it make it harder after losing a district game? Sure, it does. But we still have everything in front of us, everything to play for. And knowing that, we got to come out and bring it. And like I said, the kids have really responded well. We've had 2 really good days of practice so far. Attitude and effort's been awesome.
You just said it responded well, and that's my biggest worry. Bridge Creek was a long time ago, but the opponents between then and now are quality opponents. The state titles speak for themselves: Canadian, Carl Albert, of course, Clinton. So what has the attitude been like? After this film session, you just mentioned it. How is it for you as a coach to keep these guys going?
It's for me. It's all of us on the coaching staff. It's been when we're telling them you have everything ahead of you that we want. All of our goals are still there. We believe that. Now it's maybe sitting up at night and you think, man, we've lost 3 straight.
Mm-hmm.
That's when, as a coach, that's when you start thinking, man, we got to get one here. And sure, you feel a little pressure there. But you can't press. But as far as the message we've been trying to get across to the team. We believe it. It's not, what we're saying to them is it's the truth. We've had 3 really, really tough opponents, and I think that's going to later on down the road that's going to help us. But no, we truly believe that we've got everything's in front of us. We just got to go take care of business. You win that first district game and you still kind of have the fate in your hands. We might have to have a little help here and there as far as hopefully getting another district title. That's the goal right now. But we still, it's still out there in front of us.
Hanging out with defense coordinator Johnny Eastham of Big Elk football. So, Cash, what outside of 12, what do we look for? It seems like the names on the sheet are at least quarterback, running back, same guys. Harbin back at quarterback. Seems like he's been there forever.
Funny how that works.
It does. He's played a little bit here and there as a freshman, and now 3 straight years there he is back there. It seems like they've always got big dudes up front that a lot of guys don't have. So what do you have to do defensively outside of just stopping 12 to be able to have some success on tomorrow night?
Well, we got to be able to contain 11 too. Their quarterback, he's a good athlete. They put him back there, kind of in the spread and the gun, and he can throw it. But he's also you got to keep him contained because he can run too. And yeah, they lost the Division I offensive lineman last year and 2 or 3 others that were huge. And you watch the film, and guess what? They've got 3 or 4 more huge guys there. So we're going to have to – it's the same game plan as every week. We got to be physical. We got to tackle the ball well. And we just we got to keep people contained and can't give up the big one.
Nathan brought this to my attention earlier.
Nathan?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
This is the 4th of a string of 5 games where we play somebody that starts with a C. Ever heard anything like that?
Only Nathan would come up with that.
I don't think we haven't talked about that in any of our coaching meetings. We haven't. But you know what? We're talking about that the call sheets, and I have noticed I've got them on a Google sheet. Well, when I go rename it, I actually noticed that today. I'm like, I don't have to delete the C.
Yeah.
CHS next week. CHS.
Yeah, CAHS the rest of the week.
Yeah.
No, it'd be nice to get back home. And honestly, yes, the schedule shows 3 losses in a row, but it doesn't feel like it because it feels like the team after Bridge Creek went out to Canadian, played great for a half, and then kind of let things slip right at the end of the first half. I thought Carl Albert was whatever it was, but we played well. And then last week, you look at the sheet, you outgain them. You get down in the red zone, just don't quite. If the game is played between the 20s, we win. but you couldn't finish off. And then also when they got down there, they did a great job of finishing drives.
Oh yeah, that was the key last week. I mean, we in all three of these games, that's what we've really been looking for is how our kids are going about it mentally, and they've been tough mentally and physically. We've played tough. Clinton, we had, like I said, we had 8 minutes there on defense. It wasn't very good. Offensively, you're talking just execution of a drop snap, a penalty down there, inside the 5, and you're talking 3 or 4 plays there. So we're there, and that's the thing too. That's the message we've been telling them too. Clinton's a great team. I mean, they're going to be a top 5 team in 4A, and we kind of felt like we let that one slip away. I mean, quite honestly, we were right there with them, and should have been able to come out on top, but we just didn't quite do it. But the players, the team we've played really tough. We haven't given up, even against Carl Albert, who's one of the best teams in the nation as far as I'm concerned. They played them tough, so that's what we're looking for right now.
Yeah, it's very fortunate, in my opinion, that yes, we're already on the other half of the regular season, but that's just one district game. So there's all these district games in front of us right now.
Yeah.
Is that a message you're getting across to the guys?
Oh, yeah, that's what we're trying to say. That's what we say. We still have everything out in front of us that we want. You got to take one game at a time. We got to go get this one tomorrow night, and then move on to the next week and have the same approach. But if we could take care of our business, we still have every goal that we want is still very, very attainable.
Absolutely it is. There's no doubt about that. It'll be tomorrow, 7 o'clock right here at Big Elk Stadium. The Cash Bulldogs right now 1-0 in district play, 3rd place in the district behind Clinton and Weatherford, who also play this week. So 2 huge games in 4A1 that'll kind of start to settle out where the standings are headed down the stretch and then into a playoff run. Coach Easton, thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys.
We'll get to go downstairs.
Yeah.
Try not to ask the exact same questions.
That's all right. Thanks.
Defense coordinator Johnny Easton joining us here on the Skinny on Sports. That'll do it. Tomorrow we'll talk about Red River, what happens when Oklahoma has the ball. Preview, I guess we'll tell you what's going to happen in the fast pitch. Got some games tomorrow on the for the smaller schools. Maybe some NFL. We might even have a little Western Oklahoma Bulls. Haven't nailed that down just yet either. Have a great day.
You've been listening to the Skinny on Sports podcast with Aaron Cow. Be sure to hit that subscribe button to get alerts of when the latest podcast is available. Thanks for listening.